When a baby appears in the house, we cats sometimes start behaving in ways humans completely fail to understand. Some of us suddenly become tiny, furry babysitters. Others get jealous as if the family just brought home a younger sibling. And some pretend this loudly meowing little human simply does not exist at all. But behind all of that is something much deeper than simple instinct. The first thing that shocks people after bringing a baby home is how suddenly some cats change around newborns. And this does not only happen with female cats. Even male cats that spent years acting as if the entire apartment existed purely for their personal comfort can suddenly become strangely obsessed with the baby. Some of us begin sleeping beside the crib for hours, warming the baby with our bodies and constantly checking on them, carefully sniffing their hands, clothes, blankets, and even their head. And some cats look at new parents with an expression that very clearly says, "Where exactly did you get this thing? And is it still possible to quietly return it where it came from?" And the strangest part is that many cats genuinely begin reacting to human babies almost the same way they would react to kittens. The sounds, the smell of milk, and the helpless movements trigger extremely strong caregiving instincts in some of us. But sometimes our level of concern for the baby goes even further. Some of us become so involved that we start acting as if absolutely nobody in the house can manage this situation properly without our supervision. We may follow the parents whenever they carry the baby into another room, carefully monitor everything happening around the infant, or suddenly become nervous if someone speaks too loudly near the baby. And some cats become so intensely focused on everything surrounding the child that they start looking less like pets and more like tiny furry bodyguards. Which becomes especially funny when the same cat that used to run from the vacuum cleaner suddenly behaves like the most responsible adult in the entire house. But not all of us react to a new baby with that level of devotion. For some cats, it feels like the entire world has suddenly been turned upside down without anyone bothering to explain why. And let's be honest, we are absolutely capable of being selfish. Just yesterday, the entire family's attention belonged to us. And today, a tiny, loudly meowing human suddenly appears, and the whole house immediately starts revolving around it. And sometimes, the way cats behave in this situation looks remarkably similar to older children suddenly being told they now have a younger sibling. Some of us begin demanding attention exactly when the parents are busy with the baby. We lie on baby clothes, strollers, or cribs as if trying to remind everyone, "Just so we're clear, I still run this place." And some cats become so dramatically offended that their humans start feeling like they're living with a very fluffy teenager going through a personality crisis. And the most interesting part is that this is not always jealousy in the human sense. Most of the time, the cat is simply trying to feel stable again in a world that suddenly changed completely. And when another baby appears in the family, cat behavior sometimes becomes even more unpredictable. Because very often, we suddenly choose one specific child as our favorite. And for humans, the logic behind that choice usually remains a complete mystery. Sometimes a cat becomes especially attached to the child it grew up alongside while it was still a kitten itself. And sometimes the exact opposite happens. Some cats genuinely begin acting as if they were personally responsible for raising that child and are now simply continuing to supervise their already grown-up firstborn. But when a new baby arrives, some cats suddenly appoint themselves all over again as the fluffy nanny for a brand new official object of feline supervision. And sometimes, only one specific child is allowed to get away with absolutely everything. Carrying the cat around, putting it into toy strollers, dressing it in ridiculous outfits, or enthusiastically petting it the wrong way despite clearly having no idea how cats actually work. While any adult, and usually the other children too, would most likely have been slapped for that behavior a very long time ago. But there are also cats who react to a new baby in a completely different way. No caregiving, no desire to participate in any of this. And ideally, all this noise should be happening somewhere very far away from them. Because all of us have different temperaments. Some cats immediately switch into protect the baby mode, while others prefer to handle the stress, noise, and completely changed atmosphere in the most cat-like way possible, by pretending the entire situation simply does not exist. Some of us start dramatically leaving the room every time the baby cries, avoiding the nursery, or watching everything unfold with the expression of a deeply exhausted British aristocrat who has suddenly been forced to live inside a daycare center. And from the outside, it can look almost a little hurtful, especially for humans who had already imagined a touching friendship between their cat and child. But feline indifference does not always mean actual indifference. Most of the time, it is simply an attempt to preserve some sense of calm and control in a world that suddenly became far too loud. And still, not every cat handles these changes easily. For some of us, the arrival of a baby really can feel stressful and overwhelming. Sometimes that stress shows itself through irritability, strange behavior, or attempts to regain control over our territory. But most of the time, cats are not trying to punish the child. We are simply trying to understand how to feel calm again in a world that suddenly changed overnight. And maybe that is exactly what makes cats around children so fascinating. Because despite all our different personalities, many of us genuinely begin caring for small, helpless humans in our own strange way, almost like they are kittens. And moments like that make it very difficult to believe that animals live only by instinct. Thank you for watching. Tell us in the comments how your cats reacted to children. Did they become a fluffy babysitter, a jealous teenager, or a British aristocrat who decided to emotionally distance themselves from the entire situation? And subscribe to the channel if you want to better understand the strange, funny, and surprisingly emotional things cats do.